Welcome back to the channel. Today I have 3 bikes behind me. We're looking at the Level 3, oh, wrong way, the Discover 2, and the A7 from HIMIWAY. We got a lot to talk about. Look at all those bikes we built this week. Level 3 from Aventon we're going to look at, but the real comparison for me anyways, as an e-bike store owner, seeing what the most popular bikes are, the Discover 2 is really hard to beat. So I'm mainly going to be comparing these two today because geometry wise, feature wise, they stack up really close. I love this package. Look at this. I've built probably just hundreds of bikes, not even joking in the slightest. Probably, maybe like under 200, but definitely over 100. I've never seen a bike come in such a nice, protected, foam, fully surrounded. This is great. This is really cool. Hopefully that means it's going to be very easy to build. Fingers crossed. All right, that was extremely easy. So if you're assembling this, if you're watching this video for that reason, you literally are just taking these handlebars, attaching them here by loosening these bolts right there. Super simple stuff. Now, then you're putting on the front wheel. It has they're called maxle axles. You just pop that out, pop the wheel in. Couldn't be easier, and that's literally all we're doing here. Now we have a little more time-consuming things. We're gonna open this box, see what's in here. So I'm assuming the pedals are in here. Yeah, okay. So we got our charger. We got our headlamp, we'll put that into. Little multi-tool they give you. This is a bell. Probably won't put that on. What are these? I might have to look into what these are, honestly. And then another thing, just to be transparent, I'm probably not going to bother throwing the front fender on. Maybe I'll... Okay, there we go. Destiny has decided. But it does have a front fender. All right, so I'll finish popping this guy on, and then, oh man, I messed up. I think it goes right here. So I gotta take those out and put it back in. No biggie. So we'll do that. Pop the pedals on. Don't forget to grease the threads of your pedals. Get some grease, trust me, on any e-bike. All right, let's finish this up. All right, we are completed. Looks good. I hope this thing is as good as I think it is. It looks nice, man. It's definitely on par with the Velotric one, you know, but it has full suspension, so that's tough to beat. It's too good to be true, you know? So let's go find out. And then we'll come back. I'm gonna take it home. I'm gonna go on a ride. And then I'll bring it back here maybe tomorrow or the next day. And we're gonna do a one-to-one comparison. Parts, break it all down, you know, the Velotric versus the HIMIWAY, and just kind of see what we're looking at. So what I'm doing in this video, because I have a 500 watt motor that I'd say is noticeably 500 watts, I'm just gonna pretend this is the flatland test of throttle only going at a very, very lightly graded hill. just to kind of demonstrate how the power does on your average ride. All right, we're gonna keep an eye on this right side here. Okay, so what was that for? What did I demonstrate? Well, I just wanted to kind of prove to myself that on any sort of incline, you're not going to be able to hit those usual max speeds. Now, I'd say on my Discover 2 or most other 750 watt motors, you'd hit that 20 mile an hour mark pretty quickly, even while going uphill. However, I didn't hit the 20 mile an hour governing speed until I reached flat land here in my test. So it's not that the motor's bad or anything, it's just that it's noticeably not a 750 watt motor. And I don't want to, it's not meant to compete with 750 watt motors, I don't think. And for every individual rider who is not a bigger guy like me too, you'll never notice an issue. But I do want to just kind of give it a fair shake to say, you know, it could be better, just a little bit better, you know. But I think they're trying to make room in their lineup for some of their 750 or larger, more performance bikes. I think there's a pro version of this bike as well. All right, so I want to take a look. As far as what I can tell, there's actually not an app that goes with this. Maybe I need to double check, but it does look like within the settings here, there's a lot you can do. So to show you, we're gonna hold the M button. It'll open up the menu. This I need to figure out how to turn off because it's kind of annoying, but there is a password to get into the settings. So my only complaint with this is if you accidentally hit the power button instead of M, it'll go back, and every time you do that, you have to re-enter the password, and it's just kind of driving me nuts a little bit if I'm being totally frank. Now in here though, you do have a lot that you can do. So this is HIMIWAY's, they're kind of bragging about their, in a good way, their assist system, and it does work really well. And especially if you're comparing this bike to something like the Level 3 or any of the new Aventons where you can do the ride tune settings, it does seem like within this, you can actually do a lot. Okay. So let's see what the general settings have for us. Okay. Default assist levels, auto assist, screen brightness, that's good. Unit settings, that's going from like kilometers to miles. Auto power off, it's a good thing to have. Interface color, that's something. Ooh, that's pretty sweet. You don't see that on a lot of systems. We'll go ahead and do the secondary color. Oh, that's all we got though. Okay. Well, let me back up. Let me see what over the air does, because this should be where you would sync to an app. Over the air upgrade. Set up a network enabled mobile phone. So your average Joe buying this bike, like I like to feel like I'm pretty tech positive and really, you know, in tune with things. I'm never gonna go through with that. That's gonna be a pain in the butt, unless it's like an amazing new feature that they're offering over the air. I don't know. The Aventon and the Discover, or Velotric Discover 2, you can get right within the Velotric app, and it's super easy. I don't want to sound too negative about this because out of the box, this thing does ride pretty great. It's pretty in tune. There's not a lot of customization you're gonna want to do, I don't think. But for those who are maybe a little more meticulous, who want to fine tune, I'm just hoping that you're able to find stuff within that menu to get it to where you want to be. All right, we're gonna go on a couple more rides here, and then I want to put this one-to-one with that. We'll look at both the Level 3 and the Discover 2, and we're gonna line them up and kind of go over the pros and cons. So as I mentioned earlier, the biggest comparison I wanted to do was between these two, the HIMIWAY A7 and this Discover 2 from Velotric, mostly because the geometry just looks so similar. However, after riding the HIMIWAY, I realized it probably is maybe even more of a competitor to the Level 3, the new level from Aventon. What I'm doing now, I want to look at two things. First, we're going to go through part versus part, like hardware, nothing to do with the computer system, the display, the motors, the we're going to ignore all that, the batteries, all that stuff. First, we're going to go part by part, riding this bike as a bike, what you're getting on each bike and how they stack up, which one's better. Then what I'd like to do is bring software, battery, motor, all of that into the equation to do a second round of comparison. And what we'll do is kind of weigh out what bike's best for what person. Now, neither of these I would write off. They're all pretty good bikes. They're all going to be, from what I've seen, they're using quality parts. They're going to last a while. They're nice bikes. So it doesn't matter which one you're considering, you're going to have a good time. Now, we're going to get more into like the minute kind of picky things that you might be looking for in a bike to help you hopefully make a decision if you're torn between some of these bikes. Okay, now we're going to start with the front. We're going to talk about the forks. What I've noticed is the very, very large travel on the HIMIWAY. It's a really nice fork they have here. There's tons of adjustments you could do. It's very well performing. You got your preload on the bottom. I've always said that this is one of the best forks on these sub $2,000 e-bikes. I love this fork. They're both great though. These guys are tied. Fantastic forks, really cushy, really nice ride. The Aventon's isn't bad by any means, but if I have to pick a loser, I'm going with the Aventon. It's just a tiny bit lower grade of a fork. It's not bad, it really isn't. I just like these ones a little bit better. Now since the brakes are up front, let's talk about brake winners. We have pretty nice hydraulic brakes across the board, but we have 3 different brands. So I don't know if you have allegiance to any brands. The Shimano hydraulic brakes are on the HIMIWAY, really nice. You have the Tektro on the Velotric. And then the winner of the brakes gotta be these Miguras that come on the Level 3. They're just really smooth. They feel really nice to engage. They look really clean. They look futuristic to match the whole e-bike vibe. I love these brakes. They all perform okay though. You know, we're really talking like, you know, minute stuff here. Now let's talk about overall bike geometry. The Aventon's in kind of a class of its own. Even though on paper these are all going to be compared to each other all the time, this bike automatically skews, I think, to a younger crowd because it's not as upright. Now, you still have technical, you know, you can adjust the handlebar height with this adjustable stem, but the seat usually sits pretty level to the handlebars and it skews towards a, you know, more over the handlebar riding position, where both of these bikes are, in my opinion, made to be more upright ride. Now, the most upright, the most kind of casual feel that you'll get on a bike has to be the Discover 2, and then the HIMIWAY is kind of right in between. You can tune it, which is nice. You still have these bowed handlebars right here. They bow in, as well as the adjustable stem, so you can get it to feel more upright. But for example, the Discover 2, you can't really get that to feel like the Level. It's always going to be more relaxed, more upright, where you can kind of get away with both on the HIMIWAY. So if you want to be able to have more of a, like if you come from a road bike background and you're more comfortable, or mountain bikes where you're more comfortable over the handlebars, you can get that feel on the HIMIWAY. However, on the other side of that, you can also lower the seat a bit, raise the handlebars, and get a more upright feel too. And it does skew more upright than, we'll say, over the handlebars, but you can kind of do both, although we'll just say it's mostly upright. So it's kind of in between both worlds. And then the big elephant in the room is the fact that this bike has rear suspension. It's crazy to think about, really. At this price point, you're really kind of spoiled to have rear suspension on a bike that is the most affordable of all three of these. Is crazy. And you immediately go to, well, they must be skimping on parts, it must be bad. At least that's what I always assume. But the overall build quality of the HIMIWAY is fantastic. I was worried, frankly, because when they try to pack in more features at a lower price point, you end up getting cheaper versions of that. But I gotta say, I'm impressed. You're still getting the same Kenda tires that you're getting over here on the Discover 2. They're really nice tires. I think they're the exact same tires, quite frankly. You still get the same Altus shifter. You still get, I mean, you get a better, in my opinion. This wins for rear racks. I love the rear rack system they have here. The integrated, I mean, how cool is that? The integrated headlights built into the top rack. I love it. Stock, it comes with these straps for quick carrying things here and there. I've been using this every night to go get the mail just down the road. At our subdivision, we have this like mailboxes where whatever. I don't have a normal mailbox, so I ride my e-bike to go pick up the mail, and I love that. I just popped it back in there. So all of this to say, my favorite bike when it comes to hardware might actually be the HIMIWAY. I think it has the best parts. It's really nice, at least when it comes to the hardware. Second place this is my actual personal Velotric D2. Maybe I'm more used to it, but I just love this bike. It's super reliable, super fun, and I feel super comfortable on it. So that's second place. And my least favorite to ride, geometry-wise, is this Aventon one. And it's just because when I'm on an e-bike ride, it is more casual, it is more for fun. I have a mountain bike that I use for like actual exercise and, you know, getting like real biking in. So I don't really look for my e-bikes, and this is just me, I don't look for my e-bikes to feel bikey. I want them to be more casual. I know that sounds super weird, but that's just my style. So if you're not that way, then you know, okay, well that means this is a great fit for me. I should go for the Level 3. That's that. Okay, so HIMIWAY does actually, I think, win when it comes to parts. There's one part I hate on it though, and it's the headlight. It looks so nice. I had a lot of high hopes for this thing, but when it was on at night, it basically just created like this square on the ground and then a fuzz around it. I don't know if there's a way to focus it better, but I couldn't find out how to do that, and it's a bummer because it looked like a beefcake. I thought it was going to be really nice, and I love the one that's on my D2, and Aventon's pretty solid as well, but maybe something's up with mine or something. I got to double check because it seems just weirdly bad, so I don't know what's going on there. I know that was a lot, and there's actually a lot more to talk about too, because we didn't even touch the software, the motor sizes, any of that really in depth. So now that's basically what I want to talk about. And the first, I'm going to say elephant in the room again, is on the HIMIWAY, the fact that it doesn't have an app. Take Aventon, for instance. Their whole new lineup of bikes have this feature called Ride Tune. It's really cool. You have only 3 modes, but within the app, you can totally customize those modes to feel exactly how you want to feel. There's pros and cons to that. It's awesome because you can perfect the bike, and you have the 3 modes that are set up exactly how you want them to feel. And I think that's great. And then as you shift through your gears, they perform in the way that you want them to. Now the only downside to that is it is all on your phone. So if you're in the middle of the ride and you find out that eco mode or turbo mode aren't acting how you want them to be, you need to pull out your phone, you need to change your settings, you need to either go back to default or do something. You can't just on the fly switch that. And then when we talk about being able to do it on the fly, Velotric actually does one of the better jobs of that, with it really easy to understand over time that there's 3 ride modes. There's an eco, trail, and a boost mode. Plus you have your regular 5 levels. So you technically have 15 modes to ride in that are all easily switchable with like actual tactile buttons, no app, no software, deep menu stuff. You can switch between all those modes on the fly mid-ride, which is really nice. Where on the HIMIWAY, I mean, as you saw earlier in the video, it's kind of hard to adjust, but luckily, out of the box, it has those, the modes are great, and it didn't, in my opinion, need a lot of adjustments. So take that as a big plus. It out of the box rode really, really well. But I know, you know, if you're cross-shopping between these three bikes and customization is something you really care about, it's harder to do on the HIMIWAY, but totally possible to do. Okay, and the last thing to get into when we're talking about the tech and the software and the motor sizes and range and all of that is who's the actual winner of range. If range is something that, you know, is important to you, you're going on really long rides, it is good to know that HIMIWAY wins. It's rated at 80 miles, where both of these bikes are rated at 70. Granted, both the HIMIWAY and the Aventon are only 500 watt motors. And what I did notice is there is a little noticeable lack of power when you're comparing it to the Discover 2. The HIMIWAY is only $17.99. It's $200 less than the Discover 2, and you get more range on it. So I totally am not jealous of someone who's comparing these bikes because they're all so close. And I just want to say this again, they're all really good bikes that you're gonna like. And I think my overall kind of thought on the HIMIWAY is that the fact that I noticed a smaller amount of power is probably due to it getting better range. I think they do a good job of keeping a smooth ride and being able to not draw as much power. That 500 watt motor isn't really draining on that battery, and therefore getting a little bit more range out of that bike. Meanwhile, I almost feel like when I ride the Level 3 from Aventon, that 500 watt motor feels like it's working as hard as a 750 watt, at least within that 0 to like 15 mile hour range. Now, where you really feel the power of a 750 watt motor is if you're planning on unlocking the speed on the D2. That, or if you're like hauling your kids in a buggy or going up a really hilly navigation all the time, that's when that 750 is really going to make a difference. You might never notice the difference between a 500 and 750 watt motor unless you're stressing it out regularly, especially on the D2 that I'm pointing at here, this Mint bike. Right there. You could unlock it to go a little bit faster. Something we tried to do on the HIMIWAY, but I wasn't able to find it, even though I think you can after a little more research. I'll figure it out, but it's very easy to do on the Discover 2, and once you do so, you can really feel the power that motor can do, and it's there, I assure you. So all that said, wow. What bike are you going to choose? First of all, if you have one of these and I forgot something, please comment down below and share that with anyone who's in the search for one of these three bikes, because I'm sure your information is going to be super valuable. The other thing is, what do I choose? Well, I think, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to stick with my Discover 2. But it's mostly because I kind of like the fact that you can go a little bit faster on it. It's something I'm used to. I like the speed modes. And then my favorite feature that we haven't even talked about yet is that there's Apple AirTag built in to the D2. And so within your app, if you have Apple products, if you live in the Apple ecosystem especially, you can add your bike and keep an eye on it. Now, I still recommend probably using a lock, but I don't. I know that's not smart, but what I like is I can literally, go downtown to a restaurant, leave it outside, and I don't feel too worried because I just flip open my phone every, hour or so and see, oh, it's still literally here, or if it's moved by chance, let's say someone does take it, I could just go to a police station or something and say, hey, will you help me go get my bike? 'Cause it's right here. I know exactly where it is. I know there's 10 comments firing up right now. Hey, the Aventon can do that too. It can, but it should be noted that you actually need to pay for that feature. It's free for the first year, but then it's $20 a year to use the 4G connectivity that the Level 3 has. And then my final note on that is, if that is a deal breaker, AirTags are like $30, and for another $20 they make like water bottle cages that have a spot for them to like hide the AirTag in, as well as like reflectors where you can hide AirTags in them, and you can just add that to any bike like the HIMIWAY and still get a feature like that, which is pretty cool. Starting with the Level 3. If you like the Level 3, you really like the geometry. You want that more over the bar, traditional road bikey or mountain bikey feel when riding around. You're pedaling at high speeds. You want to do a lot of pedaling. You want to use the bike part. That's basically the thing. You like the technology because you love the way that you can customize those 3 modes. So you're really tech heavy. And you love the geometry of this bike. That is who will love the Level 3. The 500 watt motor doesn't scare you because you're going to be doing more pedaling anyways. Now, the D2 fits 2 types of people. People who really just want a casual bike, and they can use that eco mode and get a very slow, calm, comfortable bike, because this is the most upright. Older folks especially, people who don't want a bike where you're like hurting your back or your hands are going numb, you can really achieve that on the D2, and it does a very good job of that as well. So it not only satisfies those really casual riders who just want a super comfortable bike, but if you're like me and you want to unlock it and go a little faster every once in a while, you like the technology that comes on it, you're also going to love the Velotric. And then finally, who should buy this HIMIWAY? The first thing is, you do have to take into account how good this bike looks, and the fact that it is $200 to $300 less than both of these bikes. So you get a bike that is just as on par as these more expensive bikes for a little bit less. So that is huge. It's also the build quality, the non-motor battery, and all of that part of this bike is incredible. It's a really nice job. It's really high quality. Maybe the only downside is that it is maybe a little bit heavier to actually lift than these two, but it's negligible. It's maybe like 5 or 10 pounds more. And it mostly comes to this middle section. There's a lot more metal and parts going on here. The aluminum's bigger. There's a whole extra component. So you're obviously gonna have a little bit heavier bike. You're also going to get more range, which is huge. So if range is something that you're considering and you really want to go on long, comfortable rides, this bike